Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the blue flame. Whoo! This integrative month of June is already quite invigorating, isn't it? I recently posted a video here on the tube, and I will end cap this one with it, talking about the first 2 weeks of July, which are a torrent or an avalanche of light. But today we are going to come back to the present. We're going to come back to the present and we are going to talk about Jupiter coming into Cancer on the 9th or 10th of June, followed quickly on the heels by a Sagittarius full moon, a week that also includes a Friday the 13th. This Sagittarius full moon feels restorative. There is a lot of the closing of a loop associated with it. First, to say that the full moon itself is happening with the moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius, the sun at 20 degrees of Gemini, and it will be exact at 12:44 a.m. Pacific time on the 11th of June. So just for us on the Pacific coast of America after the 11th has birthed. So for most of the planet, it will be on the 11th proper. Jupiter's movement into Cancer is between the 9th and 10th. So we're moving energies, we're shifting currents, we're shifting directions. Now, Jupiter, the great benefact, right? The great benefact will be at 0 degrees of Cancer on the Sagittarius full moon. Cancer, a cardinal sign, is the beginning. It's one of the beginnings of a new cycle. Sagittarius, Gemini, where the sun and moon are during this full moon, are mutable signs. They are the closing of a cycle, the closing of a cycle. It's very much the beginning of the end and the end of the beginning. We move through that transient phase, and we just had Saturn move over from Pisces, the end of a cycle, into Aries. Jupiter, during this lunation, will be making an exact square, or very close enough to exact anyhow, to Saturn and Neptune's conjunction there in Aries, both of which in July will be moving retrograde, Saturn and Neptune, that is. The moon and the sun themselves during the full moon will be making what is called a mutable Grand Cross. And I feel very strongly that we should talk about the players in this Grand Cross. Grand Crosses are when something occurs in each of the 4 signs of a modality. So in this case, mutable signs. So we have the moon, of course, in Sagittarius. The moon is going to be exactly conjunct the asteroid named for Inanna. Inanna is the Sumerian or Babylonian name for Venus, for that goddess energy, for the feminine magnetic energy. In the Hindu pantheon, this would be the Shakti. This is important because also conjunct the moon, which tends to be feminine in nature, introspective in nature. Inanna at 20 degrees exactly conjunct this femininity. this introspection. And then at 23 degrees, we have the asteroid name for Shiva, the masculine energies. And here we can see that there is a little bit of space between this masculine and this feminine energy. A little bit of space for the dance to occur. However, the sun, which in so many traditions is masculine, correct? In so many traditions. Of course, the sun is not masculine or feminine, the sun is. But here, let's play with that masculine, the Christos. Oh, yes, okay, there we go. The feminine, reflective, the moon. Sophia, reflecting, right? The sun, casting, shining light upon the world. When we look at the Gnostic tradition of Sophia and Christos, Christos is that which is yet unembodied, that which has yet to become embodied, that light which is still filtering through into the embodied plane. Shiva, the Hindu pantheon, in the Hindu tradition, the Buddhist tradition, Shiva is that masculine energy that is holding the space, that is creating the stage, the foundation within which and upon which the creative life force can dance. So in this tradition, can we feel how the earth is also both masculine and feminine? So here we have the sun in the masculine playground of the sun, directly across from the moon. It's a full moon, shining a light that is reflected, bright spotlight onto us here on the earth. The moon in conjunction with Inanna, and we'll get a little bit more deep into Inanna's story in a moment, with Shiva holding space there in Sagittarius as well at 23 degrees. Now, what makes this a grand cross is the north and south node. The north node at 23 degrees of Pisces, the south node at 23 degrees of Virgo, and exactly T-squaring with Shiva, reminding us that we are being called into a relationship with our destiny. Closing chapters, the mutable signs, closing chapters so that we can step into the new. And that's what July has a lot on offer for us. Jupiter entering Cancer during this time, in this tight square with Saturn and Neptune, helps us to feel that beginning of where we're going. Jupiter in Cancer, let's feel what Cancer, the sign of Cancer, offers. Healing our sense of belonging, nurturing energy. Emotional maturity is one of the aspects of Cancer as well. New ways of processing, of experiencing our emotionality. We're taking a pause because somebody is coming in. In addition to Jupiter and Cancer, we have some other players during this full moon. We have the asteroid named for Magdalena, Mary Magdalene, at 2 degrees of Cancer. We also have the messenger, Mercury at 4 degrees of Cancer. So as we move into this energy, as we close that chapter and come into the new, part of the new that we're coming into is greater accessibility to our emotionality, greater accessibility between our mental and our emotional planes would be another way to feel into this. Sagittarius, the sign where the moon, Inanna, and Shiva reside, is a sign of the mind. It is a fire sign, but it seeks higher, that arrow pointing. We are purifying, igniting our passions, calling in more of our light. The galactic center and the great attractor are both in the sign of Sagittarius. In a trine to Jupiter, Magdalena, and Mercury, we find in Scorpio, Hecate, the guardian of the crossroads. There we go again, with that energy of closing a chapter, choosing a new path. Hecate is at 0 degrees of Scorpio, exactly trine to Jupiter. At 2 degrees, exactly trine to the Magdalena, is the supergalactic center. Now, this is the galactic center around which our galaxy revolves. So we are touching the center of our galaxy, but we are really touching even further beyond. Even further beyond. And Magdalena, of course, is an energy of empowerment, of the empowerment that is gained through exploration of our depths, through introspection, through shadow work, through rising up and saying, I belong. I am allowed and I have a voice and a seat at this table. In Cancer, the sign of belonging. Lilith, her interpolated version, that part of Lilith that is maybe the most true, mathematically speaking, is at 4 degrees of Scorpio, exactly trine to Mercury. So here we get to play with Magdalena and Lilith. We get to play with that part of the feminine that has been cast aside or shunned or told its power was too much. Giving them rise, helping that part of ourselves rise again, to be bigger, to take up more space. Again, those words, I belong. I belong. And this could be the motto or the mantra of Jupiter in Cancer. I belong. And in that beautiful square with Saturn and Neptune, I am. I belong. My whole expression, my whole expression. During this new moon, speaking of whole expression, Isis the asteroid named for the goddess of rebirth and regeneration and restoration, will be exactly conjunct Uranus at 28 degrees of Taurus. And this brings me to one of the offerings for us, something to explore during the Sagittarius full moon, and feel in for yourself when the appropriate time for this might be, because it might be on Tuesday, not Wednesday. The other day during the first quarter moon, I did a drawing for our members portal, and one of the cards that we got was power talismans from the Isis Oracle, in fact. And it was a statement of charging tools. This Sagittarius full moon, that bright light, with Isis conjunct Uranus and Jupiter having entered Cancer, Saturn and Neptune already in Aries, we have a really lovely opportunity for charging of moon waters, for resetting the crystals or other tools of the trade that we keep, that we care for. It is also an amazing opportunity for what is known as moon bathing. What is moon bathing? Well, like sunbathing, it is laying out in the light of the moon, that reflective light, meditating under the full moon at night, perhaps as the sun sets, or perhaps later, just before the rise. Feel in for you, but this is a beautiful opportunity for that introspective and integrative energy that is so pronounced in this month of June. Preparing us, clearing us out, clearing the field for that very powerful, explosive first couple of weeks of July. We also have, during this full moon, a water grand trine that is linking in Jupiter and the other Cancer players, as well as Hecate and those other Scorpio players. Excuse me, I have a little itch. This water grand trine is a little bit outside. It's in orb, so we could call all of these players that we've been talking about as active here, but really tightly conjunct in this water grand trine. We have the Hathors at 8 degrees of Cancer. We have Persephone at 8 degrees of Pisces, and we have Black Moon Lilith at 8 degrees of Scorpio. These three very feminine and three different expressions of the feminine energies are really helpful in our exploration of the energy of this particular lunation. The Hathors, or the Egyptian goddess Hathor. Egyptian goddess Hathor is the mother goddess, the sacred cow, the mother goose. Mother goose is based on Hathor. Hathor feeds and nurtures and nourishes. Persephone is transient energy. Persephone explores like Sophia explores. Persephone leaves the garden, goes into the underworld, looks herself fully in the mirror, and then, once crowned, rises again and spends half her time in the upper world and half her time in the underworld, a symbol of the life-death cycle, of the seasons of the earth, and of our transient nature, of our mutable nature. Persephone in Pisces, the mutable sun. Hathor in the cardinal Cancer. And Black Moon Lilith, primordial feminine, the feminine that will not submit, that has been exorcised from our stories, demonized from our stories, at 8 degrees of Scorpio. Scorpio, that fixed sign that relates to power and occulted or hidden knowledge, secrets. A water sign that asks us to explore those deepest depths of our being. And Black Moon Lilith is there. Quite literally, Black Moon Lilith is there. When we speak of the Kundalini, of that serpent energy, Black Moon Lilith is there. These three aspects of our nature, not just of female nature, but of our nature as beings, embodied, or even our soul journey in the Christian mythos, right? The Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. This triplicity is very important for us because it helps us remember that there are cycles, that we move through phases in every moment, and that we are moving through one right now. On this full moon, there is also a fire grand trine. And here we're going to speak a little bit about the alchemical marriage of fire and water. The fire grand trine is the aforementioned galactic center at 26 degrees of Sagittarius, so just a little off from where the moon, Inanna, and Shiva are. Not quite conjunct, but pretty darn close, right? Mars at 26 degrees of Leo, and Chiron at 26 degrees of Aries. This is an exact fire trine, just like our water trine is exact. And I will point out for fun that the fire grand trine is 26 degrees. The water grand trine is 8 degrees. 6 and 2 is also 8, and here we have that beautiful infinite nature of the transience of everything, of the cycles of life. And you can see that triplicity in the number 8, or the infinity sign as well, the two poles and the central channel where they meet. Mars trine Chiron, trine the galactic center in these fiery realms, invites us to our power, to lead. That's Leo and Mars, from our heart space, to rise up through fear of abandonment, that's Chiron and Aries, into an empowered, voiced I am. And through leading from the heart and saying I am, open up the field to higher and higher expressions of that energy. Hmm. The alchemical marriage is that union that we were just talking about with that 6 and 2, 26, and that 8, and that infinite nature. I did say we were going to talk a little bit more about Inanna. Inanna has a very similar energy to the story of Persephone, having been a goddess of the surface and going into the eternal, exploring the depths, looking in her mirror at her twin sister, who is also her. And not defeating her, but embracing, allowing herself also to be embraced together, reconnected. So whether it is our masculine side, that masculine energy that exists within us, the feminine energy that exists within each and every one of us being reunited, whether we are called to deep introspective journeying because there are some wounds around our creativity and our feminine sensibilities, or we are called to explore our heights and that bright white light that is so connected with the masculine traditions. The true potentiality of this Sagittarius lunation is unification. It is, as I said before, the restoration and the recharging, the clearing out of our tools. And what is our greatest tool? Yes, we can use herbs, and yes, we can use crystals, and we can work with all of the various elements in these ways. But our greatest tool is the cells and all of the elements that make up our physicality. The lines of energy, those electromagnetic lines, the torus fields that connect our heart, our mind, and our creative centers. Our interactions, our relationships, how we relate to ourselves, how we speak to ourselves. Mercury in Cancer is very open to us changing the way that we talk to ourselves and about ourselves. Over at Circle, I am facilitating a really lovely 3-part journey with the goddess Sekhmet. If that calls to you, come on over. There will be links below. We have already the first part, the internal eternal, ready in the inner sanctum. In the community hub area of Circle, we also have the card reading, if that calls to you, and some other fun little bonuses for this cycle. We will have our violet blue flame ceremony in the members portal in the inner sanctum on Tuesday. I told you sometimes it's going to be on Tuesday for some of us. On Tuesday at sunset. So if that calls to you, come explore the inner sanctum. There's so many amazing meditations. I actually just uploaded a remastered Great Attractor transmission and activation, amongst some other fun things. The closing remarks. Sagittarius, the sign where the moon is during this lunation, has a very strong resonance to truth, seeking higher truths, exploring integrity, burning passion, and individuality. Now, the invitation during this lunation for the recharging, for that energy that we spoke of, that integrating of the I am and leading from the heart. These are very powerful Sagittarian themes, and one of the reasons that individuality and freedom are fundamental to the Sagittarian energy is when we lead from the heart and allow our I am, that I am, to radiate out, the desire for everyone around us to experience that state of yes, that state of I am that I am, grows exponentially. And to quote one of the characters from the show Hacks, be yourself, everyone else is taken. And with that, as always, my dears, with so much and many loves from the dimensions of the all and beyond the beyond. Deep gratitude for all that you are and for sharing this time and space with me.